we developed technologies to measure molecules called proteins that are essentially the products of the genetic information that you inherit from your mother and father. And what we know about neurodegenerative diseases is that these proteins, they change with age and they change with the pathology that occurs in the brain. And so the main goal we're trying to do is map out the protein changes in the brain and then see if those same proteins that correlate or change in disease are also detected in your blood or your cerebral spinal fluid. And can we use those proteins as diagnostics or diagnostic markers for the prediction of Lewy body dementia and other neurodegenerative diseases?
And I can just add a little bit to that. I think that was a great answer. I would add that ultimately, we don't know the cause of dementia with Lewy bodies, and we don't have a treatment. And it's highly related to both Alzheimer's disease and Parkinson's disease related conditions. And our work fills in a big gap in trying to understand what happens in the brain and the protein executioners of why the disease is occurring in the brain, and trying to use that information to develop ways to detect it in living people for diagnostic purposes, and ultimately to guide new therapeutic approaches to treat it more effectively. I guess I can start with that one. As a neurologist, I'm interested because it's part of this family of disorders which are just amazingly common. Right, we have a pandemic currently of Alzheimer's disease and related dementias, and dementia with Lewy bodies is one of the most common forms of dementia. And again, we don't have a single treatment for any of these. They're fascinating from a neuroscience point of view, trying to understand why the manifestations that occur in dementia with Lewy bodies do, like sleep disorders, behavioral problems, in addition to the dementia and the movement disorders. And we need a treatment. It's a really devastating disease for individuals and families, and ultimately we're interested in it because we want to contribute and make an impact to help diagnose and eventually treat and ultimately prevent diseases like this.
Yeah, and I would only add it's an enormous challenge to try to tackle the heterogeneous nature of this disease, and we think our technology and our integrative approach are going to help try to subtype and understand both mechanisms and hopefully new diagnostics for this disease. Well, I guess I can jump in. As we've been part of the Accelerating Medicine Partnership for Alzheimer's disease over the past 8 or so years now. And one of the tenets of that program is an open science approach. So with all the thousands of individual human postmortem brain samples we've analyzed and thousands of CSF samples, we publicly deposit that to the community. So one of the things that have come out of that is just the repurposing of our data to answer a wide range of questions, not only the questions that we ourselves are interested in as researchers, but where other scientists can leverage and replicate and use the data to come up with, to answer different questions in the field. So I think that could be a real plus where we see a similar approach here as being part of this consortium.
Adding just a few other things to that, it's, we deeply believe that finding cures and new approaches to treat diseases like this requires a team science approach. This is going to take investigators, doctors, researchers, and people affected. Everybody's got to work together and put the best ideas forth and move the field forward. And so, the kind of work that we do adds value to the people who are trying to understand the genetic risks or potentially developing new treatments. It can be used to nominate new therapeutic targets. And ultimately, again, it's back to help the people who are participating. So through our participation, we're able to get more participants involved in the research as well and make their samples available to other researchers as well. Yeah, I'll start with that. Again, as a neurologist, ultimately, we can help people with Lewy body dementia the most if we can prevent it, right? So we know this disease, like the related diseases, the related types of dementia, without a doubt, these things are changing very slowly in the brain for decades before the symptoms begin. So we can help people by helping identify who's at risk for the disease in the future, and helping guide ideas for new therapies to prevent it ultimately. Certainly right now, most people with the disease don't get diagnosed readily. It's hard. We don't have really accurate ways to do that in living people. And so without a clear diagnosis, people are struggling for help and can't get the appropriate treatment.
I agree with everything Alan has said. It's going to be one of the goals is to come up with panels of biomarkers that can help subtype and stratify patients for both prevention and hopefully with new treatments that are coming down the pipeline.
Well, I think building on our earlier comments, Nick opened the idea of personalized medicine or personalized brain health. And what we know in reality is as people age, they get a lot of different changes occurring in the brain that predispose them to this disorder, dementia with Lewy bodies, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and other forms of dementia. And for us to really make a difference, we have to have blood tests that can be available in real world settings, in clinical settings, like for primary care doctors, coming up with the equivalent of cholesterol tests and other simple blood tests that can be used to help their doctors identify who's at risk. And if symptoms are beginning, to help them identify exactly what's going on in their brain so they can either get their patients right to the hands of the specialists who can deliver specialized treatments, or take care of the problem themselves. So turning these diseases that are poorly understood into common, easily manageable diseases and moving medicine towards preventative approaches is ultimately, I think, the most promising thing. And that really, for us, rests with developing a blood test out of this project, which we can then view towards disseminating, translating into clinical practice in the years ahead.
I agree with everything Alan has said. It's going to be one of the goals is to come up with panels of biomarkers that can help subtype and stratify patients for both prevention and hopefully with new treatments that are coming down the pipeline.